nostalgia for the good old college days. So, here to make you guys reminisce about the good old college days, Toastmaster Yuki Zhao.
Morning, guys. We ready for some good table topics?
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
All right.
Tailgating or studying? Which would you rather do on a Saturday? Distinguished Toastmaster Roy Shear.
Distinguished.
I think, what's my title now, Carson? Honorary member? Honorary? Honorary, half dead? Yuki, what was that question again?
Running the clock, right?
Tailgating or studying? Which would you rather do on a Saturday?
Studying or what?
Tailgating.
Partying.
Okay.
I'm over here in the corner.
Brown liquor.
So, when I went to college, we didn't have cars. So that made tailgating awfully difficult. I thought tailgating was following co-eds around. No, I'm sorry about that. The work over there? Well, that's a tough one. That's a tough one, man.
Did you study?
I'm gonna make it to a red light here eventually.
It's on.
So, I guess I'll take studying. I met some of the best girls of my life in the library. Nobody else was talking, so I had it made. Yeah, it was great fun. Yeah, I should tell that story. There was a co-ed in there that the entire football team was trying to get close to. And I thought I tried this line. I told her I was studying for the ministry. Well, I have to finish that story later on.
Speaking of girls in the library. Dating in college, yes or no? Toastmaster Sean Tucker.
Thank you.
Who's on?
That would have been a bad idea because I went to college when I was 40 and married with 2 children. So dating was out of the question, one, because I was a no-no, and 2, they wouldn't want me. I was already bald at that point. So. But I honestly loved going. I went to UCF when I was 40, and it was a blast. I worked full-time, and then I scheduled my classes around my work schedule, and the students in the beginning were always standoffish, like, who is this weird old guy in my classes? And very quickly, I made friends that I'm still friends with today with a bunch of students in that class. They were great, and they were honestly, there was a nice exchange of ideas of generations. It was phenomenal. If you didn't go to college when you were young, like you're supposed to, go back. I don't care how old you are. It's a lot of fun.
What was your childhood dream? Toastmaster Karen Shorts.
Get him, Karen.
Good morning, Toastmasters.
Good morning.
What was my childhood dream? My childhood dream went back and forth between being a vet and being an interior designer. I realized I didn't want to be a vet when I couldn't take blood. In fact, I can't today. I cannot take the sight of blood or bone, which is funny because my husband's a paramedic. EMT, and he comes home and he's like, oh my gosh, we had this car accident, and I'm like, no, stop there. And then the interior decorator dream, I don't know, that just kind of died in high school. I didn't really understand like how I would go from high school to being an interior designer. I didn't get that path. So neither of my childhood dreams kind of panned out, but that's okay. I'm here.
All right.
Math or English? Toastmaster Josh Harris.
Oh.
Math or English? What a pithy question. This marvelous day at Winter Park Toastmasters. Here's a fun fact. All my degrees are basically considered mathematical, PhD in finance.
Ooh.
I always scored higher on English on all those exams like the SAT, the ACT, the GMAT. Here's the truth. I hate math. But I made a lot of money with it and done things like that, so like I have to kind of respect math. It pays better. That's the problem. It pays better. As much as they want to talk about STEM fields, you ever heard of STEM? Yeah, it's real. But I got to tell you something. The spoken word, the written word, it's actually way better. You could actually have a way better career if you enjoy it. So my advice, mix it up. Do both. Have a little bit of fun with it. And if you can write all those little squiggly symbols and stuff like that, no, you're not for me. That was my original major.
Who here at Winter Park Toastmasters is most likely to be a frat bro? Toastmaster Tim Taylor.
To be a what, I'm sorry?
Frat bro.
Frat bro. You know, when I was in college, the cool kids were always in the frats and the sororities, right? Right? Most of them, their parents were wealthy because those things are quite expensive. My wife was in a sorority, but she paid her own dues. And she worked after school, and she was beautiful. I was a football star. She was the head cheerleader. She was the homecoming queen, all that stuff. But you know what? I worked during college. I paid my own tuition. I worked 2 jobs during the week. I worked another job on the weekends.
Wow.
And I learned how to make money, and that has helped me so much more than getting drunk on every Friday night. Okay? I know so many students that dropped out of school because they just partied all the time, and they never focused on their grades or anything else. By the time I graduated from college, I had 5 years of work experience. And so when I walked right into the business world, that really helped me. So, you know what, you can have a lot of fun in college, but working on your career is why you're there. Okay, now I do look back and go, I wish I had a little bit more fun because all I ever did was work, and my dad told me later that that was actually his plan. He wanted me to work so hard, I never had time to party. So, thank you very much.
Speaking of drinking, what is your drink of choice? Coffee for studying or something stronger for the weekend? Toastmaster Carson Schaefer.
Speaking of drinking on Friday nights, I was a Sigma Chi. Buy a drink. See, that's how I proved it. You know about Sigma Chi's. College was fascinating. I went to college when I was 18. I went to engineering school at Ohio University, became a Sigma Chi, got in a band, started doing a lot of drugs, drinking. All the, do you know you have to go to school? You have to attend class for electrical engineering? Did anybody have any clue about that? So after 2 semesters, they threw me out. And I went back to UCF a million years later. Sat in engineering silent study where you got out on business study on the 4th floor because the elevator would ding for them, and walked up the stairs so the door would open in silence. Took my daughter up there to show her how we would sit and study and look at the business majors playing frisbee at the reflecting pond. And we walked up, and she gets up there and she goes, "Why do we have to walk? There's no one here." And like 100 people, 100 heads go up and go, "Hey!" She just goes, "Oh my God, yes, engineers have to study." Who knew?
Would you rather have an easy A in a boring class or a tough grade in an interesting class? Toastmaster Kathleen Hoffleimer.
That's a good point. But I would say a better grade in a more difficult class. It means you have to work harder for it. And when I was in college, I went to University of Tampa, and in my math class, that was probably the classes that I had the most trouble in. And I mean, I had to work a lot harder to get a good grade. And, yeah, sometimes I wish it was a little easier, but at the end of the day, the hard work was how I was able to pass it.
What's the best excuse you've heard for skipping class? Toastmaster Dan Wallace.
About skipping life.
As a brief disclosure, let me know how I'm doing. I want to stop being so negative and start being less pithy. So best excuse for skipping class, that I was drafted and I went to Vietnam.
Ooh.
That's my best excuse, if it was true. And furthermore, when I was a child, I grew up next to a mountain. And when we were kids, we'd go up and visit Uncle Caveman. And sometimes he'd eat one of us. It wasn't until years later in therapy I uncovered a repressed memory. Uncle Caveman was really a bear.
Ooh.
Tell me about your first car. Toastmaster Kim Blainer.
My first what?
Car. First car.
Car.
Well, it wasn't my car, it was my father's car. It was a 1928 Model A, and that's the car I learned to drive when I was 10 years old. Around the property, not on the street. He wouldn't let me leave the driveway, believe me. Just drove around the house with a couple of acres. But then my next car was a 1950 Jeepster convertible. And I took that from New Jersey down to Florida when I moved here 40 years ago, whatever it's been. And I remember I picked it up at this drop-off location in Jacksonville, and then I had to drive to Orlando. And it kept stalling at the toll booth. And I had so many people behind me beeping and screaming, and that was my second car. And then when I got my job at Motorola, they handed me the keys to a company car, and I wrecked 2 of them over the years I worked there. But that's another story.
If you could give a college freshman one piece of advice, what would it be? Toastmaster Gary Adams.
Gary Adams.
College freshman, one piece of advice. Considering I don't have a huge amount of years in college, I don't have a lot of advice other than what I told my daughter. If you're gonna go to school, take it serious. If you're not gonna take it serious, go get a job and take that serious. She's actually doing a little bit of both. She's in college right now, working on all of her stuff so she can be a veterinarian, and she's busting her little behind as a vet tech. And she's actually moved way up. She just went to a new vet's office and is now in a supervisory role, and she's so excited. She actually was very tormented. She was very heavily in theater and the drama club, and she had a couple of potential scholarships to take singing and drama on, but she was much more engaged in being a veterinarian. And the word of the day, I think, is best described by Mike Tyson saying an old Mr. T line, "I pity the fool."
If you could give a college new grad one piece of advice, what would it be? I really need this one. Lauren Mendelson.
Hi everyone, so this is my first go around.
All right.
So I spoke to Carson earlier and he said, just slow down and not be very pithy. It's very difficult for me, that's why I joined. And so the advice I would give to you is go think about freshman year, what you felt like, and reflect on it. Make sure that you do less partying after school. I have a lot of friends that still go to Fiddler's right here, and they need to understand being out at 2 a.m. on a Thursday means that you're hungover on a Friday at work without your coffee, and so it's very difficult to bounce back, especially when you're 23. People said that drinks were harder to go down. Like a 34-year-old one time told me, "Oh, I can't take shots anymore." And I said, "That's ridiculous." And then I tried at 23, And it was terrible. It was the worst night of my life. So, thank you.
Solid advice. If you could take one class for the rest of your life, what would it be? Toastmaster Regina Rosende.
She's thinking.
I love philosophy. I think we learn about people, we learn about life, we learn about not having huge arguments, even though we don't like certain things. We make the argument, and sometimes you go overboard, and then with the philosophers, you realize, like Voltaire, can you help me? Voltaire,
Voltaire,
what did he say?
he said, I may hate what you say, but I will defend to the death the right to say.
You guys are going to share the trophies. You guys share the trophies.
Thank you.
I'm gonna vote for Jordan.
If you could add one absurd class to your school curriculum, what would it be? Toastmaster Mark Ayler's.
EPM.
MTD.
Morning.
Morning, Mark.
Just wanted to say that in college, I was one of the students that Tim Taylor warned you about. Drunk every Friday and Saturday night. But I did work pretty hard during the week, thank goodness, and I made it through. But if there was one class that I could take it, or I could do it all.
If there's one absurd class you could add to your school curriculum.
I think the class I would add is a class called Adult Drinking Strategy.
I might go for my master's if they offer that. If you could relive one day in college, what day would it be? Toastmaster, Alex,
It's
Stenson.
in the library.
Andrew.
All right. We had a bunch of great questions. I'm happy to learn about all of your experiences when you guys were my age. For myself personally, you talked about tailgates earlier. I'd say probably one of the tailgates. You know, you gave out the question, would you rather tailgate or study? Of course, she's tailgate. Nobody would want to study.
Hey, Jeff, hand it.
But for me, that was one of my most memorable times, the tailgates, the partying. It's always with a big group of friends, we all would get together. And there was no structure to it. We would kind of follow what everyone else was doing, follow the flow. And we would jump from different sections, different tents, dancing at one, playing beer pong at the other. And the occasional drink or two, but those are stories that I can't share here, and that's for another time. Thank you.
Is that piece of paper really worth 4 years of studying and all that debt? President Brandon Moore.
Thank you.
Is that piece of paper really worth 4 years of studying and all that debt?
Well, yes and no. My piece of paper from Rollins College, Hampton Homeschool, Evening Studies, while I started working student, it was in growth management studies. Okay. They taught us a lot of ideological things about how we can make cities better, right? Assuming that anyone wanted to follow a single one of these ideas, and our cities would be better. What I learned from when I got there
at the city of Orlando, my first job, and then throughout my career as a planner was, nobody listens to planners. Otherwise, it wouldn't be planned like this. It would be all flowing nicely. But people with, you know, taste, they're the ones that make the decisions, and they're not that bright, to be honest with you. So why do I sell beer now, and my certificate is not worth what my scholarship paid for it? Because I was like, I'm fed up with this, I'm just gonna go sell beer. There you go.
Can I buy some beer from you?
Yes.
What is your worst roommate experience? Toastmaster, Aicha, Williams.
You're in the headlights there.
Wow.
Gotcha.
I was not expecting that. Good morning, everyone. What was my worst roommate experience? I actually had a really incredible roommate experience. My first year in college was really difficult. Some of you know and some of you may not know, but I am teaching college now. And I can see the students that are not college ready and the ones that are college ready. And that doesn't really necessarily have to do with them, which was something that they don't realize, but it has to do with schools. The school system, the middle school, the high school, whether they're prepping them well or they're not. So I work to bridge that gap. And so how I will tie this together is that when I was a freshman, I was not college ready for sure. And I had the best roommate who was college ready, who walked me through the process. I observed and I learned from her. And so that's my story.
Most valuable lesson learned outside of the classroom. Area Governor Marino Fernandez.
Thank you for the question. Unexpected question. One, can you please repeat the question?
Yes. What is the most valuable lesson you've learned outside of the classroom?
That's a very difficult question, but in life, I think that the most difficult lesson I learned is knowing someone, loving that person, getting married to that person, and then she leaves you, and she gives you a divorce. And I can relate to Ty's speech when he gave it in the contest. I really relate to him because you spend a great portion of your life, and with that person you give her everything, and that was not enough, and she leaves you. So the lesson that I learned is that you need to look for yourself. You need to love more yourself than anybody else, and I hope I won't make that same mistake again.
This is timer. Do all table. Madam Timer. Do all table topics qualify?
Yes, they do.
Good. Cool. Vote for 2 minute break.